Emma Sullivan stitched wedding dresses with the same care she used trying to mend her own fractured life. Her nimble fingers guided delicate fabric through her sewing machine in the back room of Forever Stitches, her small bridal boutique in Charleston, South Carolina. The historic district location, with its exposed brick walls and large windows overlooking cobblestone streets, attracted wealthy clients who appreciated both tradition and craftsmanship. At 34, Emma had built a modest but growing reputation as a talented designer whose work blended classic silhouettes with modern details. Her business partner and childhood friend, Meredith Jenkins, handled the business side, allowing Emma to focus on what she loved most, creating wearable art that made women feel beautiful on their most important day. "That's going to be stunning," Meredith said, leaning against the doorframe, her journalist's notebook tucked into her blazer pocket. Before partnering with Emma, she'd worked as a features writer for the Charleston Post and Courier. "The Donovan wedding?" Emma nodded, carefully pinning a delicate lace applique. "Final fitting tomorrow. I just need to make these last adjustments." "You've been working late every night this week," Meredith observed. "Is everything okay with James?" Emma's hand stilled momentarily at the mention of her husband's name. James Harrison, heir to a luxury hotel empire with properties across the Americas and expanding into the Middle East. They'd met 5 years ago when he was in Charleston scouting locations for a new boutique hotel. His quiet confidence, impeccable, taste and genuine interest in her work had swept her off her feet. Their courtship had been a whirlwind of private jet trips, candlelit dinners, and promises of a future where her designs could reach an international audience. "He's in Dubai again," Emma said, resuming her stitching. "The Al Mansour deal is taking longer than expected." "That's the third time this quarter, isn't it?" Meredith's journalistic instincts always made her questions seem more probing than friendly curiosity. "The Harrison Group is expanding fast. In the Gulf region, these partnerships are worth millions." Emma recited the explanation James had given her, trying to ignore the hollow feeling it left. When they'd first married, James had involved her in every aspect of his life. He'd proudly introduced her to business associates, valuing her eye for design in hotel aesthetics. They'd made decisions together about renovations to their historic Charleston mansion. Their son, Noah, had been born 3 years ago, and James had been the doting father, rearranging meetings to be present for Noah's first steps, first words. But something had shifted 18 months ago. The trips abroad became more frequent, the phone calls shorter, the explanations vaguer. When home, James was often distracted, taking calls in his study with the door closed. Emma told herself it was the pressure of the expansion, the responsibility of the Harrison legacy resting on his shoulders. "You're still coming to Noah's preschool recital tomorrow, right?" Emma asked, changing the subject. Meredith was Noah's godmother and had a special bond with the precocious little boy. "Wouldn't miss it. Though I might be a few minutes late, I've got a source meeting me with some information on that story I'm working on." Though Meredith had left daily journalism to help Emma build Forever Stitches, she still freelanced investigative pieces for major publications. Her current project involved luxury hotel developments and their environmental impacts, a touchy subject Emma had asked her friend not to discuss around James. After Meredith left, Emma worked until midnight, losing herself in the repetitive comfort of stitching. Her phone lit up with a text message from James. "Meeting running late. We'll try to call tomorrow. Kiss Noah for me." No mention of when he'd be home, no "I love you," just another in a growing collection of brief, impersonal messages. Emma put down her needle and walked to the window, gazing at the Charleston night. The city was quiet, with only occasional passers-by strolling under the glow of historic street lamps. She'd grown up here, the daughter of a master tailor who'd taught her every stitch and seam. This city was in her blood. James had promised they'd always keep Charleston as their primary home, even as his business grew internationally. Lately, though, he'd been suggesting they spend more time at the New York penthouse, closer to Harrison Group headquarters. Her phone buzzed again, this time from Meredith. "We need to talk tomorrow. Important, after Noah's recital." Emma felt a chill despite the warm spring air. The serious tone was unlike her friend. She started to type a response asking for details, but deleted it. Whatever it was would keep until morning. The next day brought chaos. The Donovan bride arrived an hour early for her, fitting, flustered about last-minute floral changes. Emma's assistant called in sick. Noah spilled orange juice on his recital costume. By the time Emma rushed into the preschool auditorium, the children were already assembling on stage. She scanned the crowd for Meredith but didn't see her. The performance, a charming if off-key rendition of You Are My Sunshine, brought tears to Emma's eyes as Noah searched the audience and beamed when he spotted her. When the children took their bow, she clapped until her hands hurt, wishing James could see this moment. "He was wonderful," came Meredith's voice from behind her. Emma turned to find her friend looking uncharacteristically disheveled, her usually sleek bob windblown, her expression grim. "You made it. Noah will be thrilled." "Is there somewhere we can talk privately?" Meredith interrupted, her voice low and urgent. They found a quiet corner in the school's garden, while Noah's teacher helped the children change. Meredith pulled out her tablet, hesitating before unlocking it. "What I'm about to show you, Emma, I wasn't looking for this. It came up during my research on Gulf region hotel developments." Emma's stomach knotted as Meredith handed her the tablet. On screen was a society page from an Emirates business publication, headlined in both Arabic and English. "Power couple. Harrison Hotel's CEO announces engagement to Al Mansour heiress." The photograph showed James, her James, with his arm around a stunning woman in her 20s. The article, dated 3 days ago, described the strategic union between the Harrison hotel chain and the Al Mansour family's vast real estate holdings. It mentioned the engagement party at the Dubai Opera House and quoted James saying this partnership represented the future of the Harrison legacy. "There must be some mistake," Emma whispered, her fingers trembling against the screen. "Another James Harrison?" "I checked," Meredith said softly. "It's him, Emma. The article mentions the Charleston connection, the expansion plans we've heard him discuss. There's more coverage in other publications. It's being called the hospitality merger of the decade." Emma stared at the image, unable to process what she was seeing. The man in the photo wore the same custom Tom Ford suit she'd helped him select last Christmas. He wore the same platinum watch she'd given him on their first anniversary. His smile, that was different. It was broader, more public than the intimate smile she knew. His posture was stiffer, more formal than he ever was at home with her and Noah. "In the Middle East," Meredith began delicately. "Some men have multiple wives," Emma finished, "but James isn't Muslim, and we're legally married under US law." Her mind raced through possibilities, a misunderstanding, a business arrangement being misreported, an elaborate hoax. But the evidence was there in high-resolution detail. Her husband, smiling beside another woman, wearing the expression he reserved for major business achievements. "I've tried calling him," Emma said, her voice hollow. "It goes straight to voicemail." "What about his mother? Charlotte might know something." Charlotte Harrison, the family matriarch who had never fully warmed to Emma despite her efforts, lived in the family's original mansion in Boston's Beacon Hill. Emma had always sensed Charlotte found her too provincial, too southern, too focused on her own small business rather than supporting James's legacy. "I'll try her," Emma said, pulling out her phone with numb fingers. Charlotte answered on the third ring, her Boston Brahmin accent as crisp as ever. "Emma, what a surprise. Is everything all right with Noah?" "Noah's fine," Emma said, struggling to keep her voice steady. "I'm calling about James. Have you spoken with him recently?" A pause, too long to be casual. "I believe he's in Dubai on business. Is there a problem?" "There's an announcement," Emma said carefully, "about James being engaged to someone named Layla Al Mansour." Another pause. Then Charlotte's voice, colder than Emma had ever heard it. "I see you've discovered this unfortunate situation." Emma's breath caught. "Then it's true." "These matters are complex, Emma. The Harrison Group is expanding into regions with different cultural expectations. Strategic alliances sometimes require accommodations." "Accommodations?" Emma's voice. "Rose, you're saying my husband, your son, is engaged to another woman as a business accommodation?" "Lower your voice," Charlotte said sharply. "There are certain realities of international business that someone from your background might not understand. The Al Mansour partnership is worth billions. It secures the Harrison legacy for generations, including for Noah." "Noah," Emma repeated. "Does James expect his son to accept having a father with two families?" "These arrangements can be managed discreetly," Charlotte continued, her tone suggesting she was discussing something as mundane as household staffing. "Many families in James's position maintain separate households. You'll continue to receive every financial consideration." Emma ended the call, unable to bear another word. She looked up to find Meredith watching her with concern. "She knew," Emma said, her shock giving way to burning anger. "They all knew. This wasn't a sudden development. This was planned." "What are you going to do?" Meredith asked. Before Emma could answer, a teacher appeared with Noah, his little face bright with excitement. "Mommy, did you see me? I remembered all the words." Emma gathered her son into her arms, inhaling the scent of finger paint and apple juice that clung to his preschool clothes. As she held him, she felt something crystallize within her, a clarity and resolve cutting through the shock and betrayal. "You were amazing, sweetheart," she said, meeting Meredith's eyes over Noah's head. "Absolutely perfect. And now Mommy has some important work to do." As Noah chattered about the recital, Emma's mind raced ahead. She would not be erased. She would not be relegated to a convenient Charleston wife while James built another life overseas. This wasn't just about her pride or her marriage vows. It was about Noah, who deserved better than a father living a double life. "Meredith," she said quietly as they walked to the parking lot, "I need everything you can find about this engagement, the Al Mansour family, and the timing of the wedding." "Already on it," her friend replied. "What else?" Emma buckled Noah into his car seat before answering. When she turned back to Meredith, her expression was calm but determined. "Book us flights to Dubai, you, me, and Noah. I need to see this. For myself. And if it's true," she paused, a steely resolve hardening in her eyes. "James Harrison is about to learn that some threads, once pulled, unravel everything." The next 72 hours passed in a blur of determined activity. Emma moved through her days on autopilot, completing client fittings and attending to Noah's needs while secretly preparing for a confrontation she never imagined facing. At night, when Noah was asleep, she and Meredith worked methodically, gathering evidence and making arrangements. "Are you absolutely sure about this?" Meredith asked as they sat in Emma's studio, surrounded by printouts of news articles, social media screenshots, and airline confirmations. "Once we go to Dubai, there's no turning back." Emma held up her phone, displaying the most recent text from James. "Negotiations complex. Extending trip another week. Give Noah extra hugs from me. He's planning to marry another woman while sending me texts about hugging our son," Emma said. "I've tried calling 23 times. He's either sending me to voicemail or his phone is perpetually off. This isn't a misunderstanding, Meredith." Her laptop chimed with an incoming email, another piece of information from Ryan Matthews, an old college friend of Meredith's who now worked for a global financial news service in Dubai. He'd been helping them piece together the timeline of James's deception. "Ryan says the wedding is definitely scheduled for next Saturday at the Al Mansour family's private resort on Palm Jumeirah," Meredith reported, scanning the email. "The guest list includes royal family members, tech billionaires, and Hollywood celebrities. Security will be tight." Emma nodded, adding this detail to her notebook. "And you're certain about the legal status? In the US, this would be bigamy." Ryan consulted with a legal contact. "It's complicated because of jurisdictional issues, but essentially yes, James is committing fraud by entering into this marriage while legally married to you under US law." Emma reached for the small jewelry box on her workbench, opening it to reveal her wedding band and engagement ring. She'd removed them yesterday, finding their weight suddenly unbearable. The 5-carat diamond caught the light, throwing prisms onto the ceiling. He told me this belonged to his grandmother, she said softly. Another lie. Charlotte let slip once that the original ring was sold decades ago to fund an expansion into California. A soft knock at the door interrupted their conversation. Emma's assistant, Zoe, poked her head in. Sorry to bother you, but Miss Gardner is here for her final fitting. Should I tell her you need a few more minutes? No, I'm coming, Emma said, quickly gathering the documents and sliding them into a portfolio. Meredith, can you check on those fabric samples that were supposed to arrive from New York, the ones for the Phillips Commission? The code they'd established meant, continue the research while I handle this client. As Emma pinned the hem of Jessica Gardner's wedding gown, she found herself studying the young bride's face. The excitement, the pure joy, the absolute trust that her future held everything she'd been promised. Had Emma ever looked that innocent? She must have once. Is everything okay, Miss Sullivan? Jessica asked, noticing Emma's distraction. Emma forced a smile. Just making sure every detail is perfect for your big day. Turn slowly for me. As Jessica rotated, Emma caught sight of her own reflection in the three-way mirror. Dark circles under her eyes, hair hastily pulled back, shoulders tight with tension. She barely recognized herself. That evening, after Noah was tucked in with his favorite stuffed dinosaur, Emma made one final attempt to reach James. This time, remarkably, he answered. Emma, is something wrong with Noah? His voice came through clearly, without the usual delay of an international call. Nothing's wrong with Noah, she said, fighting to keep her voice steady. He misses his father, as do I. A pause. I'm sorry I've been difficult to reach. This deal is extremely delicate. James, Emma interrupted, I know about Layla Al-Mansour. The silence that followed confirmed everything. When he finally spoke, his voice had changed, colder, more controlled. Who told you that name? Does it matter? What matters is you're engaged to marry another woman while still married to me. She heard him exhale slowly. Emma, these situations are complicated. The Harrison Group is expanding into markets with different cultural expectations. Stop, she cut him off. Your mother already tried that explanation. I didn't buy it from her either. You spoke to my mother. Sharp displeasure colored his tone. I did. She seemed to think I should be satisfied with financial considerations while you build a second family. This isn't how I wanted to have this conversation, James said, his voice modulating to the soothing tone he used when negotiating. We should discuss this in person when I return. There are aspects to this situation that you don't understand. When were you planning to tell me? After the wedding? Or were you hoping I'd never find out? Another long pause. Emma, you have to understand my position. The Al-Mansour connection changes everything for the Harrison Group. This is about securing Noah's future. Don't you dare bring Noah into this. Emma's composure finally cracked. Our 3-year-old son who asks every day when Daddy is coming home. The child who deserves better than a father living a double life. You're upset. We'll talk when I'm back in the States, James said, his tone dismissive. I have to go now. I'm late for a dinner with the Minister of Tourism. Before Emma could respond, the line went dead. She sat motionless, phone still pressed to her ear, tears tracking silently down her cheeks. Meredith found her there minutes later. You heard his voice, didn't you? You know it's real now. Emma nodded, wiping her face with the back of her hand. He didn't even deny it. He talked about it like it was a business strategy I should understand. She looked up at her friend. The tickets, are they confirmed? Yes, we fly out tomorrow night. Ryan will meet us at Dubai International and help us get settled. And the documentation? Meredith handed her a folder. Marriage certificate. Noah's birth certificate with James listed as father. Financial records showing joint accounts. Photos spanning your relationship. Everything to prove you're his legal wife. Emma took the folder, running her fingers over the embossed seal on their marriage certificate. 5 years of my life. Everything I thought we were building together. What about Noah? Meredith asked gently. Are you sure taking him is the right choice? Emma had agonized over this decision more than any other. I won't leave him behind. And James needs to see his son's face when he's exposed for what he's done. Noah is the living proof of his double life. The following day brought a flurry of last-minute preparations. Emma arranged for Zoe to handle the boutique's operations, explaining she had a family emergency. She packed carefully, clothes appropriate for Dubai's conservative standards, documentation organized in a secure travel pouch, and Noah's favorite comfort items for the long flight. Her son, excited about his first international trip, asked endless questions about airplanes and deserts and whether they would ride camels. Emma answered patiently, shielding him from the true purpose of their journey. "Will Daddy be surprised to see us?" Noah asked as they drove to the airport. His small fingers playing with the zipper of his travel backpack. Emma met Meredith's concerned glance in the rearview mirror. "Yes, sweetheart, Daddy will definitely be surprised." The flight to Dubai was 14 hours of anxiety barely contained. While Noah slept, Emma reviewed the plan she and Meredith had crafted. Ryan had secured them rooms at a boutique hotel in downtown Dubai, not far from the Harrison Group's Middle Eastern headquarters. From there, they would gather final intelligence about the wedding before making their move. Emma wasn't yet certain what that move would be. Part of her wanted to confront James privately, to demand explanations away from public eyes. Another part, the part that grew stronger with each passing hour, wanted to ensure that his deception was exposed to everyone. The Al Mansour family, his business associates, the society that had embraced him as an eligible bachelor when he was anything but. Dubai International Airport was a shock to Emma's system, the scale, the opulence, the collision of cultures. As they emerged from customs, a tall man with close-cropped brown hair approached them. "Meredith," he greeted warmly, embracing her friend before turning to Emma. "So you must be Emma, Ryan Matthews. I wish we were meeting under better circumstances." "Thank you for your help," Emma said, adjusting Noah on her hip. The child had grown quiet, overwhelmed by the new environment. "Cars this way," Ryan said, taking their luggage. "I've got updates on the wedding preparations you'll want to hear." In the privacy of the vehicle, Ryan filled them in as they drove through Dubai's gleaming cityscape. The engagement party had been a lavish affair covered extensively by regional media. The Al Mansour family had spared no expense, seeing the alliance with the Harrison Group as their entry into the American hospitality market. "What about the bride?" Emma asked, unable to stop herself. "Layla Al Mansour, what do you know about her?" Ryan glanced at Noah, who was now distracted by the tablet Meredith had given him, complete with headphones and an educational game. "She's 26, educated, at Oxford, and runs the Al Mansour Foundation, their family's philanthropic arm. By all accounts, she's brilliant and well-respected." Ryan paused. "And from what my sources say, she has no idea James is already married." This detail hit Emma like a physical blow. Another woman deceived, another life about to be built on James's lies. "She doesn't know?" Meredith asked, incredulous. Ryan shook his head. "The rumor is that James presented himself as divorced. The Al Mansours are progressive by regional standards, but they still value traditional family structures. A current wife and child would be a deal-breaker." They pulled up to a modern boutique hotel nestled among Dubai's skyscrapers. As they checked in, Emma noticed a Harrison Hotel's property under construction across the street, steel and glass rising toward the cloudless sky, bearing the familiar stylized H logo she had helped design early in their marriage. Their suite was comfortable, though not luxurious. They had deliberately chosen accommodations unaffiliated with the Harrison Group to avoid detection. Once Noah was settled with a snack and cartoons, the adults gathered around the dining table to strategize. "The wedding is in 4 days," Ryan explained, opening his laptop to show them plans of the venue. "The Al Mansour Resort is here on Palm. Told you, Mira. Security will be extensive, but I have a press credential that can get us in. Meredith, I can list you as my assistant." "What about me and Noah?" Emma asked. Ryan hesitated. "That's trickier. The guest list is tightly controlled." "I didn't come this far to stand outside the gates," Emma said firmly. "There is one possibility," Ryan said carefully. The wedding dress is being handled by Eliza Montgomery's atelier. She's an American designer based here who's become popular with wealthy Middle Eastern clients. They're doing final fittings at the resort tomorrow. You think I could pose as part of the design team? Emma asked, seeing where he was heading. With your background, you could be convincing, Ryan confirmed, but it would be risky. And what about Noah? Emma looked at her son, happily munching apple slices while watching Paw Patrol. The innocence in his face strengthened her resolve. I came here for answers, she said, but more importantly, I came to make sure James can't simply erase us from his life. Whatever happens, Noah deserves to know his father saw him, acknowledged him, even if it's for the last time. Meredith reached across the table, squeezing Emma's hand. We'll find a way. Between Ryan's press connections and my investigative skills, we'll get you inside. Emma nodded, suddenly exhausted from travel and emotion. Tomorrow then. Tomorrow we start gathering the final pieces. That night, after Noah was asleep in the suite's second bedroom, Emma stood at the floor-to-ceiling windows, gazing out at Dubai's impossible skyline, a forest of illuminated towers rising from what had been desert just decades ago. In this city of reinvention, James had decided to reinvent himself as a bachelor, free to marry for business advantage. Her phone buzzed with a text message. James, call me when you get this. Important. Emma stared at the words, wondering if he somehow knew she was in Dubai. She switched off the phone without responding. Whatever James wanted to say could wait. For the first time in their relationship, she was setting the terms of their next encounter. And unlike the delicate fabrics she worked with daily, Emma Sullivan would not be torn apart by the hands that had promised to cherish her. The morning sunlight streamed through the hotel windows, casting long shadows across the room, where Emma sat reviewing their plan. She'd barely slept, her mind racing with scenarios of confrontation, each ending differently in her imagination. Now, dressed in the tailored black pantsuit she'd packed specifically for this purpose, she looked every inch the professional fashion consultant. You look the part, Meredith said, helping Noah with his breakfast. Ryan's contact at the Montgomery atelier confirmed they're expecting additional assistance for today's final fitting. The bride's mother requested last-minute alterations to the bridesmaids' dresses. Emma nodded, fastening small pearl earrings, a gift from her own mother on her wedding day. And the credentials. Here. Ryan handed her a laminated card on a lanyard. Keep this visible at all times. Security will be checking at multiple points. Emma studied the ID badge. Emma Johnson, Assistant Designer, Montgomery Atelier. New name for her new role in this charade. What about Noah, she asked, watching her son happily devouring pancakes, blissfully unaware of the drama unfolding around him. That's the trickiest part, Ryan admitted. The resort isn't allowing children at the pre-wedding preparations today. Too much commotion, they said. I'll stay with him, Meredith offered. We can do some sightseeing, keep him occupied. You need to focus on getting the lay of the land. Today, understanding the venue, confirming James's movements. Emma hesitated, torn between her determination to confront her husband and her reluctance to leave Noah. It's better this way, Meredith insisted gently. Today is reconnaissance. Tomorrow, for the rehearsal dinner, we'll make sure both you and Noah are present. After kissing Noah goodbye and extracting a promise to bring him a treat from the fancy palace she was visiting, Emma departed with Ryan. The drive to Palm Jumeirah took them through Dubai's spectacular urban landscape, past towering buildings that seemed to defy architectural possibility. The Al Mansour Resort is one of the most exclusive properties on the Palm, Ryan explained as they drove onto the man-made island shaped like a palm tree. Private beach, helicopter pad, 6 restaurants. The family owns it outright. It's not part of any hotel chain. Unlike the Harrison properties, Emma murmured, noting a billboard advertising the forthcoming Harrison Jumeirah, opening fall 2025. The timeline suddenly made sense. James had been planning this merger, both business and personal, for over a year. At the resort gate, Ryan displayed his press credentials while Emma showed her designer badge. After a tense moment under the scrutiny of stone-faced security personnel, they were waved through to separate parking areas. Ryan to the media section, Emma to staff parking. "I'll be covering the arrival of some Saudi royals," Ryan said as they parted. "Text me if anything changes. We're supposed to meet back here at 4. The Montgomery Atelier team was set up in a luxurious suite overlooking the Persian Gulf. Emma slipped in among the half-dozen assistants, bustling with garment, bags, pincushions, and measuring tapes. Her years in the bridal industry made the environment familiar territory, and she quickly picked up the rhythm of the preparations, making herself useful by steaming delicate fabrics and organizing accessories. "You're new," observed a tall woman with striking silver-streaked hair, whom Emma recognized as Eliza Montgomery herself from fashion magazine profiles. "Emma Johnson," she said, extending her hand with more confidence than she felt. "Just brought in for the final push. Your work is extraordinary." The compliment, sincerely given from one design professional to another, seemed to satisfy Montgomery, who nodded and returned to supervising the arrangement of the bridal gown, a stunning creation of hand-embroidered silk and crystal beading that Emma estimated had taken hundreds of hours to create. "The bride arrives at 11 for her final fitting," Montgomery announced to the team. "Everything must be perfect. The mother and bridesmaids will follow at noon." Emma's heart raced. In less than an hour, she would see the woman James intended to marry. What kind of person was Layla Al-Mansour? Did she truly not know about James's American family? Or was she complicit in this deception? As she carefully pressed a seam on a bridesmaid's gown, Emma heard familiar laughter from the adjoining room, a sound that had once been the soundtrack to her happiest moments. James. Her hands froze on the fabric. "Absolutely the right decision," he was saying. "The Harrison Al-Mansour partnership will revolutionize luxury hospitality in this region." "And beyond, from what father says," replied a female voice with a British inflected accent, "though he's more excited about grandchildren than hotel developments." More laughter. Emma felt physically ill. They were discussing children, future siblings for Noah that would never know their half-brother. "Mr. Harrison," Montgomery called out, "we're not quite ready for visitors in the bridal suite." "My apologies, Eliza," James replied smoothly. "Just giving my future father-in-law a tour of the venue. We'll clear out before any bad luck can take." "Hold." Emma ducked behind a rack of dresses as the door opened, catching only a glimpse of James's profile as he exited to another part of the suite. He looked exactly the same, the strong jawline she'd traced with her fingers countless times, the confident posture that had first attracted her at that Charleston hotel opening. Yet he was utterly transformed in her eyes, a stranger wearing her husband's face. When the door closed, Emma released the breath she'd been holding. Not yet. Today was for gathering information, for understanding the battlefield. Tomorrow would be time enough for confrontation. The bride's arrival was heralded by a flurry of activity. Layla Al-Mansour entered surrounded by an entourage of assistants and friends, her slender figure elegant in casual designer wear, her dark hair pulled back in a sleek ponytail. Emma, assisting with the unwrapping of the bridal gown, studied her surreptitiously. Layla was undeniably beautiful, with intelligent eyes and a warm smile that suggested genuine kindness. As she greeted each member of the design team personally, including Emma, who managed to murmur an appropriate response despite her churning emotions, it became difficult to cast her as a villain in this drama. "It's absolutely perfect," Layla breathed as the gown was revealed in its entirety. "Even more beautiful than I imagined." "Let's make sure the fit is still perfect," Montgomery said, gesturing toward the dressing room. "No last-minute diet changes, I hope." Layla laughed. "I promised no crash dieting. James says he loves me exactly as I am." The casual mention of his name sent a jolt through Emma. James had once said those exact words to her on their honeymoon in Santorini as they watched the sunset from their private terrace. As the fitting progressed, Emma moved quietly through her assigned tasks, gathering fragments of conversation. The wedding would host over 300 guests. The Harrison Group board would be arriving tonight. James's mother, Charlotte, was already installed in the resort's premier villa, having arrived 2 days earlier to oversee certain arrangements. When Layla stepped out in the completed gown, the room fell silent in appreciation. The dress was a masterpiece of couture craftsmanship, traditional in silhouette but with modern details that perfectly complemented the bride's grace. Despite herself, Emma's professional eye approved of the design choices. "James is going to be speechless," one of the bridesmaids sighed. "Speaking of my fiancé," Layla said, checking her watch, "he's supposed to meet me for lunch after this. Is he still in the building, do you know?" "I believe Mr. Harrison is in a meeting with your father and the hotel management team," replied an assistant. "He left about 30 minutes ago." Emma continued pinning the hem of a bridesmaid's dress, fighting to keep her hands steady. The casual domesticity of their conversation, the easy way Layla referenced her plans with James, made the reality of his betrayal even more painful. During a brief break, Emma slipped out to a secluded terrace to text Meredith. "Jay definitely here. Saw him briefly. Wedding is definitely happening. Mother of groom already on site." Meredith's response came quickly. "Noah's having fun at aquarium. How are you holding up?" "Managing," Emma typed back. "Bride has no idea about me. She seems nice." She pocketed her phone as one of the bridesmaids approached, a statuesque woman who'd been introduced as Layla's cousin. "You're American," the woman observed. "From New York?" "Charleston," Emma replied, grateful her cover identity was close enough to the truth that she wouldn't trip over details. "Lovely city. I studied at Savannah College of Art and Design for a semester." The woman extended her hand. "I'm Nadia, by the way." Emma shook it, panic fluttering in her chest. Would Nadia somehow recognize her? Had James ever mentioned his American wife to Layla's family? "Were you at the engagement party?" Nadia asked casually. "I don't remember seeing you." "No, I'm just here for the wedding preparations," Emma said, redirecting the conversation. "The bridesmaids' dresses are stunning, such unusual beadwork." Nadia smiled, accepting the change of subject. "My aunt insisted on incorporating traditional patterns. Layla wanted something more modern, but in this family, mothers usually win." Emma nodded, thinking of her own mother, who had wept with happiness at her wedding to James. What would she say if she knew where Emma was now and why? The conversation was interrupted by Eliza Montgomery, calling for the final group photographs for her portfolio. Emma used the distraction to slip away, moving toward a staff corridor that Ryan had identified, on the resort map as leading to the administrative offices. Following the discreet signs, Emma found herself in a quieter section of the sprawling complex. The plush carpet muffled her footsteps as she passed doors marked Resort Management and Events Coordination. At the end of the hall stood an ornate door labeled Executive Conference Suite. Voices drifted through the partially open door, male voices engaged in serious conversation. Emma slowed her pace, straining to hear. "The lawyers have reviewed the contracts," came the distinctive Boston accent of James's father, William Harrison. "The merger proceeds regardless of the marriage, but the preferred terms are contingent on the family alliance." "My daughter's happiness is paramount," replied a heavily accented voice that Emma assumed belonged to Layla's father. "But I am pleased that our families will be united in all ways." "And the American operations?" asked a third voice, unfamiliar to Emma. "Separate," James responded, his voice all business. "The Charleston property remains under my personal management, distinct from the Harrison-Al-Mansour partnership." Emma froze. The Charleston property, their home. Was James planning to maintain their marital residence as some sort of secret pied-à-terre while building his new life in Dubai? "And what of your ties there?" the accented voice asked. "I understand you have business interests that require periodic attention." A pause. "Nothing that can't be managed remotely," James replied smoothly. "My priority will be here, establishing our joint venture and, of course, building a life with Layla." The calculated emptiness of his words made Emma's blood run cold. She was being erased, she and Noah both, reduced to business interests that could be managed remotely. She had heard enough. As she turned to retreat, her phone vibrated loudly against the side table where she'd set it down. All conversation in the conference room ceased. "Hello?" called James's voice. "Is someone there?" Emma grabbed her phone and moved quickly down the corridor, ducking into a small alcove just as the conference room door opened fully. Through a decorative screen, she watched as James peered out, his expression suspicious. For a heart-stopping moment, she thought he might investigate further, but a call from within the room pulled him back. "James, we need your input on these projections." The door closed and Emma released her breath. She needed to get back to the bridal suite before her absence was noticed, but her legs felt weighted with the confirmation of James's betrayal. Not just the second marriage, she had already come to terms with that, but the cold calculation of it all, the seamless way he planned to compartmentalize his two lives. When Emma returned to the atelier workspace, the atmosphere had changed. The bride and her party had departed for lunch, leaving only the design team packing up gowns and accessories. "There you are," said Eliza Montgomery with mild irritation. "Help Sophia load the alterations into the van, please. We need everything. Back at the atelier by 3. Emma complied, mechanically folding delicate fabrics and securing garment bags. As she worked, a plan began to form in her mind. Not the public confrontation she had initially imagined, but something potentially more effective. When Ryan picked her up at the resort entrance, she was quiet, processing everything she had seen and heard. "Did you get what you needed?" he asked as they drove away from Palm Jumeirah. Emma gazed out at the Dubai skyline, the afternoon sun glinting off the Burj Khalifa in the distance. "Yes," she said finally. "I know exactly what I need to do tomorrow." Back at the hotel, she found Meredith and Noah returning from their excursion. Her son chattering excitedly about sharks and dolphins. Emma embraced him fiercely, breathing in his familiar scent, grounding herself in the reality of what mattered most. Later, after Noah was asleep, Emma shared what she had discovered with Meredith and Ryan, the complete erasure of her existence. The cynical business arrangement masked as a love match, Charlotte Harrison's presence, orchestrating the union that would invalidate her son's first marriage. "So what's the plan?" Meredith asked. "Public confrontation at the rehearsal dinner. Tomorrow?" Emma shook her head. "I considered that, but there's someone else who deserves to know the truth first, someone else being deceived." She met her friend's questioning looks with newfound clarity. "Before I confront James, I need to speak with Layla Al-Mansour, woman to woman. Truth. To truth." "That's incredibly risky," Ryan warned. "Her family is powerful here. If they decide to make trouble, I'm not afraid anymore," Emma interrupted. "I've spent the last 5 years building a life with a man who was planning to discard me. What matters now is doing what's right, not just for me and Noah, but for Layla too. She deserves to know who she's really marrying." Meredith studied her friend's face, recognizing the quiet determination that had helped Emma build her business from nothing. "How will you reach her? She'll be surrounded by family and security." Emma smiled for the first time that day. "I have something she wants, something only I can provide." She reached into her bag and pulled out a business card she'd lifted from the atelier. "Eliza Montgomery is having an emergency with the veil embroidery. She needs a specialist consultant first thing tomorrow morning." Ryan whistled low. "That's either brilliant or completely insane." "Probably both," Emma acknowledged. "But I didn't come all this way to hide in the shadows. Tomorrow I face the truth and make sure everyone else does too." As her friends debated logistics, Emma moved to the window, looking out at the glittering city that had become the stage for her marriage's final act. Whatever happened tomorrow would change everything, not just for her and Noah, but for James and the empire he was building on a foundation of lies. The thought should have terrified her, but instead, she felt an unexpected calm settling over her. For the first time since discovering James's betrayal, she wasn't reacting, she was choosing her path forward. Dawn broke over Dubai, painting the skyline in hues of pink and gold. Emma had been awake for hours, carefully selecting her outfit, a simple but elegant navy blue dress she had designed and sewn herself. Each stitch represented a piece of her journey. The confident young designer James had met, the devoted wife who had supported his ambitions, the mother protecting her child's future. She fastened her hair in a sleek chignon, applied minimal, makeup and slipped on her wedding band for what might be the last time. Are you sure about this? Meredith asked, watching Emma prepare while Noah played with his toys in the adjoining room. We can still go with the original plan, confront James at the rehearsal dinner tonight. I'm sure, Emma replied, her voice steady. Layla deserves to hear it from me first, not as a public spectacle. Ryan had arranged everything. Using the business card from the Montgomery atelier, he'd called Layla's personal assistant, claiming an emergency with the veil's embroidery that required immediate attention. A specialist consultant, Emma, would need 30 minutes alone with the bride to discuss sensitive design modifications. Remember, you'll have very limited time, Ryan warned, handing Emma an official-looking portfolio. Security will be even tighter today with the rehearsal scheduled for noon. Emma nodded, touching the inner pocket of the portfolio where she had placed the documentation of her marriage and Noah's birth. 30 minutes is all I need. Meredith hugged her tightly. We'll be ready with Plan B if anything goes wrong. Noah and I will meet you at the safe point Ryan arranged. Emma knelt beside her son, who was constructing an elaborate tower with building blocks. Mommy has an important meeting, sweetheart. You're going to have a special adventure with Aunt Meredith, and I'll see you very soon. Noah looked up with James's eyes, innocent and trusting. Are we seeing Daddy today? The question pierced Emma's heart. Maybe, she answered honestly. But no matter what happens, remember that Mommy loves you more than anything in the world. The drive to the Al Mansour resort was tense. Ryan, posing as her assistant, reviewed the security protocols one final time. The bride is in the royal suite preparing for the rehearsal. Her immediate family and bridesmaids will be in adjacent rooms. If anyone questions you, I'm Emma Johnson from Montgomery Atelier, here about an urgent issue with the veil embroidery, she recited. The bride requested absolute privacy for this consultation. At the resort entrance, their credentials were scrutinized more thoroughly than the previous day. Emma maintained her professional demeanor, feigning mild annoyance at the delay, playing the role of a fashion consultant with a demanding schedule. After a brief call to verify their appointment, they were escorted into the main building. Ms. Al-Mansour is expecting you, said a uniformed staff member, leading them through opulent corridors to a private elevator. You'll have 30 minutes, as requested. As the elevator ascended to the penthouse level, Emma took a deep breath, centering herself. She had rehearsed what she would say, how she would present her evidence compassionately but firmly. This wasn't about vengeance, it was about truth, about refusing to be erased. The doors opened to reveal a reception area guarded by 2 discreet security personnel. Beyond them lay the entrance to the royal suite. I'll wait. Here, Ryan said, playing his part. You have the revised designs? Emma patted her portfolio and nodded. The suite doors opened to admit her, closing with a soft click behind her. The space was breathtaking, a palatial expanse of marble and crystal overlooking the Persian Gulf. Layla stood near a wall of windows, dressed in silk loungewear, her dark hair falling in loose waves. She turned as Emma entered, her expression expectant. You're from the Montgomery Atelier? Eliza didn't mention sending someone. Not exactly, Emma replied, her heart pounding but her voice steady. My name is Emma Sullivan Harrison. I'm James's wife. The statement hung in the air between them. Layla's expression cycled through confusion, disbelief, and the beginning of anger. Is this some kind of joke? I wish it were, Emma said gently. I came all the way from Charleston to tell you the truth before you marry a man who's been lying to both of us. Layla crossed her arms defensively. If you're claiming to be involved with James, you'll need more than words. He told me about women making false claims. I'm not making claims, I'm stating facts, Emma interrupted, opening her portfolio. She laid out the documentation one piece at a time on a nearby marble table. Marriage certificate, joint property deeds, Noah's birth certificate with James listed as father, family photographs spanning 5 years. These aren't fabrications. They're legal documents, official records, our shared history. Layla approached cautiously. Her training as a foundation director, evident in her analytical examination of the materials. She picked up the marriage certificate, studying the official seals and signatures. "This appears genuine," she said, finally her voice tight. "It is genuine. James and I have been married for 5 years. We have a 3-year-old son named Noah." Emma pulled out her phone, showing Layla a recent photo of Noah in the hotel room, building his block tower. "Your fiancé is my husband and Noah's father." Layla sank onto a nearby sofa. The documentation spread before her. "He told me he had business interests in Charleston, that he'd been previously involved with someone there, but it ended years ago." Her eyes lifted to meet Emma's. "He never mentioned a child." "James has been living a double life," Emma said simply. "When he's in Charleston, he's a devoted husband and father. When he's here, he's your fiancé and business partner. He's been lying to both of us." A knock at the door interrupted them. "Ms. Al-Mansour, your mother wishes to know if you need assistance with the veil consultation." "Tell her everything is fine," Layla called back, her voice remarkably composed. "I need a few more minutes." When the footsteps retreated, she turned back to Emma. "Why are you here? What do you want?" It was the question Emma had anticipated, the one she'd rehearsed multiple answers for. Now, facing the woman who had unwittingly become her rival, only the simple truth felt right. "I'm here because you deserve to know who you're marrying. Because I refuse to be erased from my own life, and because my son deserves better than a father who denies his existence." Layla stood abruptly, pacing to the windows. "This wedding represents a merger worth billions. Our families have invested months of preparation. 300 guests are arriving as we speak." "I understand the stakes," Emma said. "Believe me, I wouldn't have come if there were any other way. But some things matter more than money or appearances." "Like what?" Layla challenged, turning back to face her. "Like truth, dignity, self-respect." Emma met her gaze steadily. "Can you really marry a man knowing he's capable of this level of deception? Knowing there's a little boy in Charleston who believes his daddy is just away on business?" Something shifted in Layla's expression, a hardening around the eyes, a tightening of her mouth. She reached for her phone. "I need to speak with James immediately." "I expected that," Emma acknowledged. "But before you call him, I want you to know I don't blame you for any of this. You're as much a victim of his lies as I am." Layla paused, her finger hovering over James's contact. "Did you know about me before coming to Dubai?" "I found out last week," Emma admitted. "A business journal published your engagement announcement. I tried to contact James, but he avoided my calls." The suite doors opened without warning, revealing Charlotte Harrison in an impeccable designer suit, her silver hair perfectly coiffed. "Layla, darling, your mother is asking." She stopped short at the sight of Emma, her face draining of color. "What are you doing here?" "Hello, Charlotte," Emma said calmly. "I was just introducing myself to Layla, your son's wife, Noah's mother." Charlotte recovered quickly, her Boston reserve reasserting itself. "Layla, I can explain this unfortunate situation. This woman has documentation proving she's legally married to James, Layla." Finished, her voice glacial. "Including a birth certificate for their child. Were you aware of this, Mrs. Harrison?" Charlotte's silence was confirmation enough. Layla's expression hardened further. "I see. So the entire Harrison family has been complicit in this deception. How convenient that you all assumed I wouldn't discover the truth until after the contracts were signed. Business alliances of this magnitude require certain accommodations," Charlotte began. "Accommodations?" Layla's voice rose. "You expected me to accommodate my husband having another wife and child, or did you all plan to keep me ignorant indefinitely?" The confrontation was interrupted by a commotion in the reception area, followed by the suite doors bursting open. Again. James strode in, his tailored suit immaculate, his expression thunderous. "What the hell is going on here? Security just informed me that—" His words died as he registered Emma's presence. For a moment, genuine shock registered on his face before he masked it with practiced composure. "Emma, what are you doing in Dubai?" "Revealing the truth you've been hiding," she replied, gesturing to the documentation spread across the table. Layla deserves to know who she's really marrying. James assessed the situation rapidly, his business instincts kicking in. Layla, I can explain everything. This is a complicated situation that I was planning to discuss with you after the merger was finalized. After we were married, you mean? Layla corrected coldly. After my family's assets were irreversibly tied to yours. Our alliance is bigger than personal relationships, James argued. The Harrison Al Mansour partnership will transform luxury hospitality across 3 continents. What we're building together transcends conventional arrangements. Conventional arrangements like monogamy, like honesty, Emma interjected. James, you have a son who asks for you every single day, who believes his father loves him and will come home. At the mention of Noah, something flickered in James's eyes, the first genuine emotion Emma had seen. Noah is well provided for, he said quietly. The trust I established ensures his future. He doesn't need a trust fund, Emma retorted. He needs his father. Charlotte stepped forward, ever the diplomat. Perhaps we should continue this discussion privately. The rehearsal guests will be arriving soon. There won't be a rehearsal, Layla said decisively, and there certainly won't be a wedding. Layla, please, James began, reaching for her hand. Think about what's at stake here. Our families. No, she cut him off, pulling away from his touch. I was willing to merge our business interests. I was willing to join our families. But I will not marry a man who already has a wife and child he's been hiding from me. Technically, we could address the legal complications, Charlotte suggested. In certain jurisdictions. Stop, Layla commanded, her voice vibrating with quiet fury. This isn't about legal technicalities. This is about integrity, trust, the foundation of any worthwhile relationship, business or personal. She turned to Emma. Thank you for having the courage to come here. Unlike the Harrison family, you respected me enough to tell me the truth. The Fae. Suite doors opened once more, revealing Layla's father, an imposing man in traditional dress accompanied by security personnel. What is the meaning of this disruption? Layla, your mother is concerned. Father, Layla said, her voice regaining its composure. The wedding is cancelled. I'll explain everything privately. But you should know that our legal team needs to review all pending contracts with the Harrison Group immediately. Cancelled? Her father repeated incredulously. With guests arriving? With the minister in a route impossible. Nevertheless, it's done, Layla said firmly. She gestured toward Emma. This is Mrs. Harrison, James's wife from America. Their marriage is legal and documented. They have a child together. The revelation landed like a thunderbolt. Mr. Al Mansour's expression darkened as he looked from James to Charlotte to Emma. Is this true? James stepped forward, switching to diplomat mode. Saeed, I can assure you that the business arrangements we've discussed remain solid, regardless of personal matters. The merger. The merger was predicated on joining our families, Mr. Al Mansour interrupted icily. On trust and mutual respect, you have made my daughter a target of public humiliation. He turned to his security team. Please escort the Harrisons out, all of them, and inform our guests that the wedding has been postponed due to unforeseen circumstances. As security moved toward James and Charlotte, Emma gathered her documentation. Her purpose fulfilled, she was ready to leave with dignity intact. But Layla caught her arm. Wait, she said, her voice softer now. Your son, Noah, is he here in Dubai? Emma nodded. He's with my friend at a safe location. Bring him here, Layla said unexpectedly. Before you leave Dubai, I think I would like to meet him. The request, so human amidst the corporate machinations and damaged pride, touched Emma deeply. I will, she promised, as Emma was escorted from the suite. She caught a final glimpse of James, his perfect facade crumbling, his carefully constructed worlds collapsing inward. For a moment, she felt a pang of what might have been grief, not for the man he'd become, but for the husband she'd thought she'd had. In the reception area, Ryan was waiting anxiously. What happened? Security is going crazy." "The wedding is off," Emma said simply, "and I think the merger might be too." Outside the resort, news was already spreading among the gathering guests. Emma and Ryan slipped away in the confusion, returning to the hotel where Meredith waited with Noah. When Emma entered the room, her son ran to her, flinging himself into her arms. "Mommy, Aunt Meredith took me to see camels, real ones." Emma held him tightly, breathing in the scent of his hair, feeling the solid warmth of his small body. "That sounds amazing, sweetheart. Did you take pictures to show me?" While Noah excitedly showed her his adventure photos, Emma briefly recounted the confrontation to Meredith. "Layla wants to meet Noah," she concluded, "before we leave Dubai." Meredith raised an eyebrow. "Are you sure that's wise?" "I think it's necessary," Emma replied, "for both of them. She's as much a victim in this as we are." The meeting took place the following morning in a private garden at a neutral hotel. Layla arrived alone, dressed simply, her eyes shadowed but her posture proud. Noah, briefed only that they were meeting a friend of Daddy's, played happily with the toys Emma had brought along. "He has James's eyes," Layla observed quietly as they watched him. "And his stubbornness," Emma added with a small smile. "Thank you for wanting to meet him." "I needed to see him," Layla admitted, "to make this real, to understand what was at stake." She paused, choosing her words carefully. "My father has cancelled all pending agreements with the Harrison Group. Our legal team is reviewing options for recovering investments already made." "I'm sorry about the business implications," Emma said sincerely. "That was never my intention." "No," Layla acknowledged. "Your intention was to prevent me from making the biggest mistake of my life. For that, I owe you gratitude." They sat in companionable silence, two women united by an unexpected bond forged in betrayal. Finally, Layla spoke again. "What will you do now? Will you divorce him?" Emma watched Noah constructing an elaborate story with his action figures. "Yes, not out of vengeance, but because some breaches can't be repaired. Noah deserves to grow up in a home built on truth." "He's very lucky to have you," Layla said. Softly, she reached into her bag, withdrawing a business card. "I run the Al Mansour Foundation. We fund women's entrepreneurship initiatives globally, including in the fashion industry. When you're ready, if you're interested, I'd like to talk about possible collaboration." Emma accepted the card, touched by the gesture. "I'd like that." Noah chose that moment to approach, proudly displaying his toy creation. "Look what I made." Layla knelt to his level, responding with genuine interest to his explanation. As Emma watched them interact, she felt a weight lifting, not the burden of James's betrayal, which would take time to process, but the heavier burden of uncertainty about the future. 3 months later, Emma stood in her expanded Charleston studio, surveying the new workspace. After returning from Dubai, she had filed for divorce, using the documentation of James's attempted bigamy to expedite the process and secure Noah's future. The scandal had briefly rocked Charleston society before being supplanted by fresher gossip. Meredith entered, carrying fabric swatches for their new joint venture, a line of bridal and evening wear under the brand Truth and Grace, funded in part by a grant from the Al Mansour Foundation. The feature in Vogue arrived, Meredith announced, handing Emma the glossy magazine. Page 38. The spread showcased Emma's designs being worn by diverse models, including Layla Al Mansour herself, now the Foundation's president and a vocal advocate for transparency in international business practices. The headline read, "Rising from Ashes, How Designer Emma Sullivan Rebuilt After Betrayal." Emma smiled at the melodramatic phrasing. The reality was both simpler and more complex. She wasn't rising from ashes, but rebuilding on a foundation that had always been there: her talent, her integrity, her community of support. Her phone chimed with a text from Ryan, now a regular correspondent and occasional visitor. He'd sent a photo of the abandoned construction site where the Harrison Jumeirah had been planned, along with a news headline, "Harrison Group, Restructuring After Failed Middle East Expansion." Emma felt no satisfaction at James's business troubles. His choices had consequences, just as hers did. The difference was that she could face her reflection knowing her decisions, however difficult, had been guided by truth. The boutique door chimed, announcing a visitor. Noah raced in from the back room where he'd been playing, his face lighting up at the sight of Adam Parker, the architect who'd been designing their new custom-built workspace in the heart of Charleston's design district. "Adam!" Noah exclaimed, launching himself at the tall man with sandy hair and kind eyes. "Did you bring the building pictures?" "I sure did, buddy," Adam replied, catching the boy easily. He nodded a greeting to Emma and Meredith. "Sorry I'm early. The contractor had questions that didn't need a full meeting." "We're glad you're here," Emma said warmly. "Noah's been talking about nothing but the new fort you promised to include in the plans." Over the past 2 months, Adam had become a fixture in their lives. What had started as a professional relationship had evolved into something more, a friendship with possibilities that neither of them rushed to define. Adam understood that Emma needed time, that Noah's well-being came first, that trust once broken required patience to rebuild. "I brought lunch," Adam announced, setting down a bag from their favorite local bistro. "I figured you two might forget to eat while working on the new collection." As they settled around the workroom table, Noah chattering excitedly about his morning at preschool, Emma felt a sense of rightness settle over her. This wasn't the life she had planned, but it was authentic, built stitch by careful stitch with threads that would hold. Later that evening, after Noah was asleep and Adam had left with promises to return for Sunday brunch, Emma sat in her workshop finishing a custom wedding gown. The bride had requested a design that could be repurposed after the ceremony, transformed into an elegant evening dress that would have a life beyond a single perfect day. Emma appreciated the symbolism as her nimble fingers guided the fabric. Life rarely followed a perfect pattern. The truest beauty often emerged from adapting to unexpected changes, from finding new purposes for what remained after circumstances unraveled. Outside, Charleston's historic streets glowed under gas lamps, the same streets where she'd once walked with James, planning their future. Now she planned her own path, guided by a compass that pointed unfailingly toward truth, toward strength, toward the kind of integrity that could weather any storm. She completed the final stitch, tied off the thread, and held up the transformed gown. It caught the light, shimmering with possibilities. Just like her life, altered but undiminished, changed but not diminished. Through her open window, Emma could hear the distant sounds of the city she loved. Music from a nearby restaurant, laughter from evening strollers, the soft lapping of water against the harbor docks. She had chosen to stay here, not because of memories but because of community, because Charleston's blend of history and reinvention matched her own journey. Tomorrow would bring new designs to create, a son to nurture, relationships to tend with care. Emma Sullivan was ready for all of it, no longer defining herself through someone else's eyes, but through her own clear vision of who she was and what mattered most. She switched off her sewing machine and prepared to close up shop, pausing to touch the framed photo of Noah that sat on her work table, her constant reminder of life's most precious creations. The journey ahead would have challenges, but she would face them with the same precision and patience she brought to her craft, stitching together a future that was authentically, undeniably her own. The end of the story. Dear listeners, we hope Emma's journey of courage and self-discovery has touched your hearts. Stories like these remind us that sometimes our greatest strength emerges when life unravels the patterns we thought were permanent. For more emotional tales that explore the complexity of relationships and the power of standing in your truth, we've created a special playlist just for you. Find it by clicking the link to your left. If Emma's resilience resonated with you, please subscribe to our channel and give this video a thumbs up. Every day, we bring you unique stories that examine life's most profound challenges and triumphs. Don't miss our upcoming content that will move you just as deeply. We'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. Which